Today we finally got our first look into Venom: Let There Be Carnage. And there is quite a bit to see in this first trailer to get us hyped about the next movie to release in Sony's Marvel Universe. The first thing to really notice is the dynamic that Eddie and Venom have set up, and how even though they're figuring out living together, it's still not great. Venom still appears to have a problem with eating humans, since it looks like Eddie has written a rule on a pizza box and taped it to the wall, showing that he is still trying to get Venom to stop this. And to help Venom stick to this rule, Eddie appears to have both given Venom free reign of his kitchen, as well as possibly keeping and eating live chickens for the raw meat. But even with this, they still don't necessarily get along, mostly because Venom still doesn't seem to have a grasp on some of Earth's customs. But other than this, the main focus of this trailer was Cletus Cassidy's obsession with Eddie. While it's not entirely clear why Eddie has a continued interest in Cletus, possibly to help find the victims of this deranged serial killer, Cletus's interest in Eddie is clearly because he senses a kindred spirit in Eddie, possibly in part because Eddie is kind of selfish and self-serving, but also, and probably more so, because of Venom. Because even if Cletus doesn't know about Venom, he can probably in some way sense the murderous intent of the symbiote. This dynamic between Cletus and Eddie also appears to have a detective thrown in the mix that is likely the one who arrested Cletus and is looking for the bodies of the rest of his victims. And although Eddie might be looking for the same thing, they might not get along very well, especially because it appears that Venom attempts to eat the detective in part of the trailer. This story also appears to lead to the Ravencroft Institute, which is Marvel's center for the criminally insane, which, since the story still appears to take place in San Francisco, has also possibly made it so that this institute has moved cross-country from New York, as it is in the comics, to the West Coast, and possibly also takes any of its future appearances from the MCU, now that Sony appears to be using it for its own villain universe. It is here that Cletus appears to have found his new home, where Eddie visits and will eventually lead to a bit of Venom breaking off to mutate and find its way into Cletus. And since we know that in some way this is going to happen, we did get our first look at Carnage in the trailer, and it appears to be a fantastic adaptation of the villain. Carnage first shows up appearing to save Cletus's life right before a lethal injection kills him. And because of this, he becomes Carnage and likely kills everyone that was present for the injection. From what we see here, Carnage will be a force to be reckoned with, and the sequel may turn into a bit more of a horror movie. And on top of this, the stress of this enemy seems like it will be weighing on both Eddie and Venom as they snap at Mrs. Chen for not having a chocolate delivery in exchange for protection, with Venom asking to eat her despite the rules to avoid that, especially with her as a friend. And with all that, we also get Shriek, a fellow Ravencroft inmate, as well as Cletus's lover in the comics. Whether that will be the case in the movie is not clear yet, as we have very little info on her outside of being locked in a glass box. And then finally, as to the connections to Spider-Man and the MCU, there doesn't appear to be any, outside of a moment where Cletus appears to squash a spider, which could be a reference to Spider-Man, but probably is not. Either way, we now have a look at Venom and Carnage, and it looks like it might be a fairly large addition to Sony's Marvel Universe. What did you think of the trailer, and are you excited for Venom 2? Don't forget to let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and then like this video and subscribe to The Marvelous Wave to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.